Welcome to All the Right Friends with Scott Austin. I am Scott Austin, and this is my friend, Miranda Lee Richards.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Let's talk about your new record, Light of X. Very, very cool. I'm still stuck on your first record from 2001, was it? That you,
yes.
Let's talk about some of your inspiration for Light of X. What was the thing that drove you to make this record?
Well, I'm always, writing and, writing songs and performing and things like that. And it was just long overdue. I mean, I've been working and writing on music this whole time and accrued this enormous, body of material, and just, kind of kept making demos and things like that, and then not sure if I wanted to get into another label situation that way, because I was switching labels from my first record, and I just decided, to finish it out on my own, and sort of that's what took so long, is to try to get that all together and then, find another home for it. I write music just because I love it, because I'm inspired to, and when I sit at the piano, I get, into another world, and I like to talk about what's on my heart and mind or whatever, and see if people enjoy it just as much as I do. What
was it like working with your husband in the creative space? I know this is now record number 2 you guys have worked together. Mm-hmm. So what was that like?
Well, we've got it down at this point. We've decided to kind of, when we work together creatively, as long as there's not too much external pressure, we work together pretty well. Although I have to say, it is another element working together when you have any other kind of relationship other than just a purely professional relationship. Because sometimes it is kind of hard to draw the boundaries and be polite to each other all the time. That's the biggest challenge. But, I respect him very much for what he does, and actually a big portion of our relationship, even before we were involved together, revolved around music. We've been working on music for almost 10 years now together. So that existed even before our relationship existed. So we always have that foundation to draw on, and it's a genuinely good creative working relationship, and he's a very talented producer, and I'm lucky to have him in my life in all capacities.
Psychedelic folk. These are the words that I never thought I'd see sitting next to one another, yet it seems that that's how your music is described by critics in the press. Where is that inspiration? I know you grew up in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Where is that coming from? Is that just like your influences over the years, or was that something you set out to do and really be different with your music, or what was behind that?
It is an interesting term, because you hear psychedelic rock. So why can't it be, psych folk or whatever? And there's freak folk, there's all these other things. I guess it's just part of my sensibility. I have some really beautiful kind of acoustic sort of music that I like to write. I mean, I should hope it's beautiful. That's what I strive for anyway. And I also have some sort of stripped down, piano ballad kind of things, which bring it into the singer-songwriter vein. But then I like to kind of obscure that a little bit and blur it, almost like if you were, in Photoshop and messing around with a photograph. It's like, I don't want it to be too literal. So I take some of those like more dreamy and psychedelic influences and kind of combine them into the mix, just to kind of like create more maybe mood or atmosphere on each track. And I could even take it further than I do. I still want people to hear the song, and I still want people to hear my voice and my lyrics too. So I let it be, the melding of those two things.
Film and TV licensing must be great for your style of music. I mean, I know mm-hmm. I've loved your music for 6-7 years. I'm sure you've made a lot of fans out there. How has the placement thing gone for you so far? Anything for the new record exciting coming up, or?
We're working on it. The new record is finally finished to the point where it can be, really sent out to all the different music supervisors and things like that. It's funny because I've had people comment on that to me a lot and say, oh, your music's really licensable. And I mean, I appreciate that in this day and age, because it can be really hard to sort of make a living, in the beginning at least, in the music business. And I had one person kind of say, are you writing your like kind of criticize the record in a way, just saying, are you writing just for film and TV? It sounds so licensable. Like, is that really you? And it's so funny because that is the farthest thing from my mind when I'm writing music. I mean, and you know what, actually, a lot of this record was actually, it's been so long since the record's come out, a lot of it has been recorded for quite some time, actually. So this is even before licensing became popular in certain ways. And I just, you know, I would never, you know, there's been discussion. I read an article in the New York Times too about, you know, is that going to change the face of music? Are artists going to start writing with that in mind, you know, catering to making a licensable song? And I have to say, for me, I'm always just going to try to keep it really real. I mean, artists were trying to write for radio before, you know, that was the big, you know, corruptor, and that's kind of gone. And, you know, it's a great time. I think you should just be honest and true to what you do. And if it happens to be licensable, then all the better, because then you can, you know, get out there and have people enjoy your music and have different kinds of people check it out.
So you were one of the last artists to come through that traditional system of get a major label deal, it's a big hullabaloo, you get to work with amazing producers, you spend all this money on all this stuff.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? What do you think didn't happen or work right? And how are you looking at the industry now? I know you're now with Network, an amazing company, very cutting edge. Can you just walk us through a little bit of that transition from the traditional major label thing to now doing it the way you're doing it?
It's a great comparison. I mean, one of the things on the major labels is that you'll never be able to recoup ever, even if hell freezes over. And even for huge artists, that was the case. And that's one of the big differences now is, like, you know, you actually have a chance to, you know, pay back the label. If anything goes wrong, maybe you can get your masters back. And artists used to just get stuck. You know, that was it. These things were owned forever, you know, until you had certain reversions and things like that. But I mean, I'm grateful that the budgets were so out of hand before. I'm grateful that they've kind of come full circle on that and gotten a lot smarter about spending. You know, the flip side is that sometimes it can be so much less, you know, funding and things like that it can feel kind of restrictive at times. But at the same time, you have to earn that right. I mean, it's almost like the way it should be. I mean, instead of spending millions on breaking each and every artist, they should there's lots of ways to kind of test the waters and let you earn your keep, so to speak, and really connect with your fans and make music that people want to hear and, you know, do it the old-fashioned way. You know, are you making something that people want to enjoy, or is it kind of a bunch of crap, you know? So it kind of weeds out, like, I think it's been weeding out the crap, which is kind of good. Or people doing it for the wrong reasons. I mean, it is not easy to make really good music, and you can try really hard and make, you know, not that great. I don't mean to criticize that, but I think all the people that were kind of just in it for girls or to make millions, I think that's just part of the past, really.
Light of X coming out February 10th, worldwide, digital, physical, spiritual, it's going to be out there, right? Is that what we're looking at here?
That's right. I like that, spiritual. Right, like just in the bandwidth, you know, it'll be out there somewhere for you to, like, you know, I guess, you know, receive in some way. You know, it's going to be everywhere it's supposed to be. And it's really exciting because it's, like, you know, a real official release. It's, you know, available world, you know, in all different markets. It's going to be Japan, Europe, Australia, Canada, and the United States at, you know, cool mom and pop shops, Amoeba, and things like that. That's, like, the real, like, to me, that's the real, you know, that's where people discover your music, that are real, true music fans tend to, you know, go to the more independent music stores, and those are still around too, which is amazing. Not as many as there used to be, so I encourage people to look for it there too, in the mom and pop shops, and iTunes. iTunes is easy.
Something tells me you're not going to have any trouble getting gigs. One of the most talented young songwriters out there, Miranda Lee Richards, my friend. She's joining us on All the Right Friends. Thank you, Miranda.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Come and see you at
Thank
Spaceland.
you.